getting ready for school, health and wellness. So please keep looking for communication about each of these webinars in your inbox in the coming days. Through this session, we will be using Zoom. Let's walk through some of its features. This is the mute button and the video. Please keep yourself on mute throughout the session. Please keep yourself on mute throughout the session and the video off for better bandwidth. Turkey has This is the chat button where you can add your introduction, where you can ask questions throughout the session. Here, if you click on raise hand, you can click on this button in case you have any questions and one of us will get back to you. Click on thumbs up if you like the content and thumbs down if you have more questions. Or after the webinar, talk to people around you on what you learned today. We remember best when we share our learnings with others. Practice learning from webinar in your work. Watch the recording of this webinar. Watch the recording of the webinar and notes on www.firki.co or Firki app. To attend the next Firki webinar, sign up on www.firki.co to get updates. Firki has recently launched its Teachers of India campaign. Teachers of India is an initiative to recognize the contributions of the teaching community towards building a nation of capable learners and leaders. If you're a teacher, we want to celebrate you. Please send your story on the link visible on your screens. It will be shared on the chat window as well. Thank you everyone for sharing, for introducing yourself and sharing on the chat screen window. We can all understand that learning during lockdown, this is a hard thing to do. I think the COVID situation has been challenging for most of us. Do share how you're doing here on the chat window. Hello everyone. Welcome to FIRKI's webinar on teaching and learning with early intervention classrooms. My name is Manasi Gunjikar and I'm a course designer on the FIRKI team. And I will help you navigate through the webinar today. My colleague Prerna will now share her screen as I quickly do a walkthrough of the FIRKI website. This is so that as teachers and educators, you are aware of the services the platform offers. In order to access the website, you will have to use your email ID and create an account on our website. The account is free to create and use. The FIRKI website offers a diverse set of content them in their professional development as well as their classrooms as free of charge and easy to use. To register on FIRKI, fill in a brief registration form. You can also sign in your Google account. To access different pedagogy, I'm sorry for the delay. For a moment. To access different pedagogical courses, you can click on the courses link on the top left of the screen. Courses allow you to choose based on difficulty level and category. Feel free to browse the different courses we have in our catalog using the search bar above. We're adding new courses every month, so keep watching this video. Next up is the webinars page that is also accessible from the top left screen. On this page, you will find webinars including video recordings of the webinar itself, notes from the webinar, the presentation that the speaker used, and other resources.
Your voice is breaking a bit, it's not very clear.
Oh, I'm sorry. Apologies for the disturbance. Give us 1 minute. Apologies for the inconvenience. Am I audible to all of you?
Breaking, ma'am. Your voice is not audible. It's not audible, ma'am. Sorry.
Hi all, apologies for the inconvenience caused. I hope now it's loud and clear to all of you.
Yes, it's clear now.
Thank you so much. With that, let us move on to the webinar at hand today. Thank you for taking the time to join us in this discussion. In designing this and other webinars throughout the year, the FIRCI team is hoping that we can disseminate meaningful knowledge and skill that take us closer to our goal of improving the quality of education in Indian classrooms. In this webinar, we will explore how the students and teachers build a classroom culture, set structures to enable student learning, accelerated literacy growth, and invested key stakeholders. And now I'll introduce the speaker for today. Hafsa Bukhari was a 2016 Teach for India Fellow. She worked with the Hyderabad program team in the past and currently leads the learning loops at Teach for India with the training and impact team. That brings us to the norms for the webinar today. Given the large audience expected today, keep your video and mic off to reduce stress on bandwidth. Unmute it only when our speaker is taking questions and comments. You can keep typing your questions in the chat box during the session. Hafsa will try and address as many of them as possible throughout the webinar. I will be there to curate your questions and comments throughout the webinar. Do remember that learning new things is often difficult, but challenge yourself and reflect on your thinking and experiences today. The best way to remember something is to write or discuss your learning with someone after the webinar. We also have Mansi from the course design team who is taking notes, a summary of which will be circulated to you after the webinar. The webinar will be recorded and will be made available on YouTube and FIRCI website soon. This brings me to the end of my introduction. Thank you for your patience. Hope you have an interesting evening. Over to our speaker now.
Yeah. Hello, everyone. Can you give me a thumbs up in the chat box if I am audible? Okay, perfect. Really excited to have over 200 people on the call today with us. Thank you for joining. Thank you for taking out the time during these really complicated and uncertain times. If you are still setting up, would request you to be in a quiet place where you can unmute yourself and talk. Also, hopefully you have a note-taking device somewhere around you so you can take quick notes. I think most of us have introduced ourselves in the chat box, but if you haven't had a chance yet, just type in your name, where you are right now, how you're feeling, and some expectation you have, something you want to take away from this call. I'll get started. Welcome to the Teaching and Learning with Early Intervention classrooms. This is, I know, not a very exciting name for a webinar. Maybe you can come up with a better name that's more funny or exciting. If you have a better name for the webinar, maybe you can type that in also. Since this is the first time I'm doing such a large session with such a large group, and I would love to make it engaging and see how everyone else in the group is feeling. If you have any questions, please type them in. If somebody else has a question that you feel like you want to answer, feel free to type that in as well. So use the chat box as your note-taking device. If something resonates with you, if you agree, if something surprises you, just feel free to add that in the chat box. I will be reading the chat box as well. So hoping to hear from you and interact with all of you via the chat box. The second norm I hope we can follow today is have an open heart and open mind as we indulge in this learning experience. What I would love for all of you to do is in the next 10 seconds, if you can chat how you plan on having an open mind and an open heart in the webinar today. So take a couple of seconds to type that in and we will get started. Okay, before we jump right into the webinar, I just want to take you through the flow. of what we hope to achieve in this 1.5 hour that we're going to spend together. My aim is by the end of this hour, you feel inspired by the possibility of what we can achieve with our students during some of the early years of academic intervention. And lucky for all of us, I am not going to be doing the inspiring. We will let our students and teachers inspire us. And I promise you, they are very inspiring. I know some of you have engaged with the videos and watched them before. So excited for all of us to be inspired by the students and teachers. And also by the end of the webinar, I hope you feel confident that this is something that I can do in my classroom. This is something that I've already been doing as an educator. So I hope you leave with the feeling of confidence that this is something that I can do as well in my classrooms. Some of the questions that we will keep in our mind as we explore the artifacts. So we will watch videos of student interviews, a classroom teaching video, see lesson plans to really explore some of the classrooms. And I hope you can keep these 2 questions in your mind. It might take a moment to note them down. Is what are the students learning and how are these students learning so much? So those are the 2 questions you can take a note of. If at any point in the webinar, I use a word that you haven't used before, because as you all know, like when we start teaching, we all start using some teacher language. So if there's any word or phrase that you don't understand, feel free to type that in and somebody will definitely clarify. Okay, so before we jump into a classroom, I want to spend some time sharing a story with all of you. This is called the Bright Spots story, and this has essentially inspired me in a lot of the research and identification work that I'm doing with Teach for India, and I am excited to share this with you. This story starts with a man called Jerry Stikens, who is called to Vietnam to address a really big challenge the communities are facing, and the challenge is of malnutrition. So he visits a village where the students, where the children essentially are undernourished. And as he begins to do some research and understand what's the root cause, as we say, root cause of the problem, or how he can begin to solve for this nutrition crisis that Vietnam is facing. What he realizes is that the conventional wisdom is that to solve malnutrition, you need access to clean drinking water, you need education, poverty has to end. There needs to be like better education amongst the parents, better sanitation. And he realized that all of this is true, but it's useless because if the children in Vietnam had to wait for access to clean drinking water and better sanitation, then the problem essentially would never solve itself, right? So he had a different plan in mind. What Jerry did was met up with a group of mothers in a village in Vietnam, and he asked them, are there infants in your village that are healthier than the other kids? And the mother said, yes, of course, there are a few. And what Jerry said was, let's go see what they are doing, right? Let's go see what the families of these children are doing living in the same conditions of Vietnam, and why and how are their children not suffering from malnutrition. Let's go learn from some of these parents and some of their practices. And you can see in the picture, that's the mothers weighing the children, interviewing and talking to the parents and understanding how they're feeding their kids. What the team of researchers found essentially was that the parents weren't doing something too different. Instead of feeding infants 2 meals a day, like a normal typical family in Vietnam would, these parents, these bright spot parents, were feeding their kids 4 meals. So they were spreading them across the day. And that was essentially leading to a big shift in the nutrition levels of the children. What the solution, the reason this solution worked so well for the children and the families in Vietnam was because, as you can imagine, the solution came from within the village itself. A lot of people have a knee-jerk reaction to solutions that are imported from elsewhere, right? But if you see an example of in your own village, there are families where children aren't malnourished, who are growing as children that age should. You are more motivated to try that out. And what ended up happening was 6 months after Jerry and his team spent time in that village in Vietnam, 65% of the children were better nourished, and they stayed that way. So not only did this group manage to address that problem, they managed to make it sustainable. And I think that stories like don't come much more inspirational than this. This is, I will share after the webinar a little bit more detail of the work that Jerry and the mothers did in Vietnam for those of you who are interested. But this is essentially the same philosophy and approach we want to also apply to the work that we are doing. So I'm going to give you a moment to pause and just reflect on how is this connected to the work that I am doing? How will studying what's working and understanding why some things are working in my system, how can that help me in the work I'm doing as an educator? So I'm going to give you a couple of minutes to chat in your responses and read what other people are saying as well. Contextual challenges need contextual solutions. Exactly. Thank you for sharing that, Sumit. Solutions need to be discovered from within. Inspiring and seeing what is working, I believe that is also extremely important as teachers, taking a moment to pause and let yourself be inspired. And I hope that we will do some of that on this call today as well. Thank you for sharing your responses. I'm going to move ahead and start by being inspired by one incredible classroom that we will explore together today on this call. I also want to let you know that there are so many more classrooms from which we can learn from. I am very certain and very confident that the 200 plus participants on this call have incredible practices that we can all learn from. So during the duration of the call, please also share your own experience and your own practice of doing some of the work that you see NIDA and the third graders do. I'm going to leave the picture on for a minute because you can see the how vibrant and lively this third grade classroom is. I know some of you I hope some of you had a chance to watch some of the videos I shared before the webinar. So if you've seen any of the student interviews or this classroom, you can chat in your initial reactions. What did you think about the videos that you watched? And while you're doing that, some of the things that we like, the outcomes of this classroom, right? The numbers, if we look at, we see that, so Nida started teaching this classroom in her second grade. And by the third grade, we saw incredible growth in the reading levels of the students, in how they were learning maths. Also saw incredible writing that the students were doing, reflection of their own values and their own mindsets. But some of the things that the students share and reflect, I don't think can be captured in numbers. So I'm going to start us off by watching a student interview. And without further ado, I'm going to play a student interview. And as you watch the interview, would love for you to think about two things. And as you're thinking, just use your chat box for taking notes or find a paper and pen to take notes as well. Essentially what you're thinking about is what are the students saying, doing, and believing. You will also see students share about something that their teacher did that helped them learn and grow. So make a note of that as well. I'm going to leave this on for 10 seconds so you can just quickly take a note of the questions. And we will start off by watching a video, a student interview from this classroom. Okay, I hope you noted the questions and you are ready to watch this video. Is it audible? Can you hear?
I felt very afraid, scared that I'm coming here first time. I don't know where is my parents. What will happen? Teacher will beat me or not? I don't know anything. What I will do? I was feeling like multiplication now, division, and kg and meters and kilometers and that 1 kg, half kg. I love to read and I think learning from others is very useful for me.
Okay, I'm just going to pause here to just point out some of the things that I'm hearing, and I hope you are hearing as well. And you can chat that in. What I'm hearing is students share how when they were, before they entered the classroom, they were scared. They thought, will I be punished in the classroom? I see a student say that she loves reading. She thinks it's great. She has fun when she's learning with other people. So these are some of the things that I'm hearing students say and do and believe. Would love for you to also make notes. If anything really stands out to you, feel free to share that in.
So we have also learned from Didi that we have also goal. We have something which we have also a dream which we will do in our life, and everyone have a goal. So we have a goal. So every day we go to home. Then we have a journal book. Then we write there that we did good or not, and what did I not do well. And we also write that what will I do tomorrow. And also we have done that if we want to write more, that someone share things and help me. So we also write that. I am coming full because I feel nice because I know the RC and RF are writing. That's why I am feeling nice. Independent means if something we do in our own, that is called independent. And grit is we have learned so many stories like Malala, we have learned about Milkha Singh, we have learned about Steve Jobs.
Again, I'm going to pause just once again. I mean, I'll pause a couple of other times during the video as well. But like most of you are typing in, what we're seeing students being really reflective. They're writing journals. They are setting goals. What we also saw briefly, one of the students just shared is that she read stories of Malala and grit in her classroom. And we will continue now. Thank you.
Excellence means to do our work best. Sometimes someone say night was that, there was that fight, there was that fire. But then we say, give me the evidence. Means I have taken information from saying, give me evidence. If I have 5 rupees in my hand and she is also with me and she has 10 rupees. And one toy card is 15 rupees and that not packet of chips but one that radish is 15 rupees. So we should not take that toy car of 15 rupees. We should take this radish of 15 rupees because radish so we can eat no, but toy car we can only play, and if it will broke we cannot make it no again. And but radish so we can cook and eat also, and from that we can become healthy. I did that in EVS. I told you no half that we were doing participation, I did not show value, and all the people are not showing value. Only that group and that person, they were only showing value, but we were not. So I will try to be better tomorrow to show values like that. That is the rule to look at the speaker. When 3 days Didi did not came, so we were helpful and we were kind and we gave everyone. So when Nida Didi came, when Nida Didi heard this, no, so Didi feel very good about this. When our parents come in meeting, so then our parents ask that how they do, what they do in class. So Nida Didi always says that my students do well and they do well in the class, and Nida Didi always not complain. Nida Didi tell our parents to help us to become better.
Okay, again, the third graders have shared incredible insight and wisdom in what helps them learn. So I'm going to again pause for a minute and get you all to share on the chat box. Appreciation helps, definitely. I think how she reflected on when my parents come to class, Didi doesn't complain. She tells them what we are doing well. So that's very confident, yes. Feeling comfortable in an environment, absolutely. Incredible. Okay, yeah, such great. Okay, I hope you're taking some time to also read through what everyone else is sharing. So we are hearing, or we're observing two things as you're watching this video. We are not only seeing what the students have learned, which is very evident, they're also telling us a lot about what are the practices that are helping them learn, which is something so often all us teachers are always looking for, right? Like the best practices in our classrooms. So like, I think the students are sharing some incredible things for us to take away from. I will resume the video.
In our family or community, we should help others to solve the problem. So our father know this all, so they also help. How can we help them? I will say to people, if you will become nice, other people will also learn from you all how to be nice. I want to be doctor. Because some poor people who her legs broken, they don't have money, so some doctor need no take to him to in a hospital. So they come in my hospital and I can check her and I not take her money. I want to be a kind person because now all the people talk to others rudely. I think that I will become a nurse. So if I will become a nurse, I will have a hospital. So I will work in hospital. So when I will work in a hospital, I will understand them and tell them what this means and what you have to do. My goal is of end of this year is I want to reach at the level 5.5. If she will do some things that I love and I will understand also, and she will do things but she will do things like I can understand also, and it can work also when I am old. We should be kind and we should be friendly, we should be polite, and we should help people if they need help, and when they need solutions, so we will we will listen to them what is the problem. First, when for different teachers were teaching us, we don't know anything. We were just copying and doing homework. We don't understand anything. But now when Nida Didi came, she explained us what is mean by this, what we have to do, and we don't have to copy from the board. We have to do it on our own. Then she take our test. From that we learn a lot and we got a change. When Nida Didi do work and teachers know, then we feel like staying with Nida Didi, and we have learned so many things. And when we learn things, so we feel like we should stay with, and we think that if from our family only one member came to our class and they are teaching.
Okay, I'm going to give us all 30 seconds to just sit with that. Please share, what are you feeling? What are you thinking right now? Reading. So just to give us a few facts of this classroom, right? So Nida Didi, the teacher that the students were talking about so lovingly, taught them for the first time in their second grade. And currently the video that you saw, the students were in third grade. She taught them in their third grade as well. So this is a very early intervention classroom in Ahmedabad, Gujarat. And we've just spent some time understanding what have the students learned, as you have seen through the interview. I hope this has also pushed your vision of what is possible with our early intervention classrooms if the students are first generation school goers and first generation English speakers. If in their second and third grade, what is possible, how high can we have our expectations? And as you can see, we can have really high expectations and hold our students to really big goals, as I hope this Bright Spot example shared with you. To consolidate all of our notes, I'm going to leave this slide on for a few minutes. I will share this presentation as well with you after. But one of the things we saw stand out very evidently, and I'm sure you saw this as well, was just the culture of the classroom. You might call it with many different words. But if you've been in a classroom as a teacher, you know what a classroom culture is. And you can see that in this classroom culture that the students feel safe and loved. They want to learn with their classmates. They're excited to come to school. They're excited to learn. And that is the culture of this classroom. What some of the things that have led to this classroom culture is something that we call social emotional learning circles. This is a lesson plan that I will share with you in the email after. I am very sure you've done some version of circle time with your students. Maybe you do a morning meeting, maybe before you begin your class. On a Monday, you do a small activity with your students. Maybe at the end of the week, you do a closing circle of what did we learn this week? How am I feeling? What are you thinking? I know all of us in all of our different educational institutions are doing this with our students, which is pretty much what Nida did with her students as well. She spent time with them at the beginning of the day and at the end of the day to build reflection, build classroom values, and make sure that the students felt like they had a goal, they were working towards values. All of this happened through the spaces that she held with her students. If you have held, if you spend some time or if you've done a structure like this with your students, please do share that in the chat box as well. I know more recently educators are turning towards meditation or mindfulness, and would love to hear some of the practices that you are trying in your own classrooms that you see that are working. The second thing, apart from holding space for the students to share what they're feeling, to make sure that the classroom has values and goals, something that came out very strongly was how the teacher invested the parents. I know this was one very important question that we have when we enter a classroom very early in 2nd or 3rd grade. In the videos that I watched and when I was studying this classroom, what I realized was the NIDA worked specifically to raise the aspiration that the parents had for their children. So that went from, my daughter might study till 8th standard to her parents asking that, how can I support my daughter? She wants to be a scientist, right? So that was incredible parental investment. What she did for that was hold multiple conversations with her parents through PTMs or like talking specifically about careers, one-on-one conversations. She made sure that the parents were invested in the vision she had for her classroom and that they spent time talking about how my child has grown, right? Taking us back to when one of the students shared that, when my parents come for the PTM, Nida Didi never complains. She tells them about how they can help me. She tells them about how well I'm doing in my class. So we can see that played a big role in what we are seeing the students say, do, and believe. Again, I'm going to give us a moment to pause. And if you think like I missed out on anything that you observed in the video, please feel free to chat that in. Thank you, Jency, for sharing some classroom practice. How do I feel display board, where they stick notes about how they're feeling and any problems they are facing. That's incredible. Sharing how I'm feeling at the beginning of the day. Mindfulness is done every day. So like I said, all of us are doing some version of this. I will, after the session, I promise I will share a packet that this classroom used and some of the questions and how they held these morning meetings and closing circles. I will also share a PTM plan that some of the that Nida used with her parents, with all of you. With that, again, I'm going to give us a 10-second brain break to just think about what did I watch right now? What is something that I have learned about students or about teaching or about learning? Did I learn something new, or did something I already know be affirmed very strongly? Like I always believed that spending time setting a classroom culture is important, and spending some time apart from teaching maths and English to my students is important, and that maybe that became stronger. Or I always was a firm believer of goal setting, and now it has been confirmed even more. So if you learned anything new, please type that in. If anything that you always believed in got confirmed, please type that in as well. I'm going to give us 10 seconds, and then we will come back and talk about what did the teachers do to help the students learn what they learned. 10 seconds, and I'm reading the chat. Yes, it seems like the teacher has a great relationship with the students. You will see right in a few minutes a lesson. I create a safe environment for my students by sharing feelings and learnings. Incredible. Thank you, Shazia. Yeah, always believed in goal setting and how to practice their values. Incredible. Thank you for sharing, Asta. Giving space and time. Okay, incredible. We have such great responses on the chat. I hope everybody is taking some time to read them. Now I'm going to get into the second segment of this call, which is, even if that's possible, even more exciting than the first half, where we heard from the students talk about what they've learned, what are they proud of, what is helping them learn. Now we are going to take a glimpse into the classroom and actually see how the lessons were in this classroom every day that helped the students be where they are. The two questions I would love for all of us to think about is, what are the teacher actions? What is she doing in the classroom? What is she saying in the classroom? And how do I think that's helping students learn? So I have 3 videos of this classroom. And as much as I want all of us to watch all of them, but unfortunately not on this call, what I'm going to do now is I'm going to break us out into groups. Then we will be in 3 groups. Each group will watch a different video. As you watch the video, make sure you're taking many notes on what the teacher is saying and doing, after which we will come back to this large group and share what we have learned. Okay. Before you start doing the work, make sure that you appoint one person to do the sharing. Otherwise, we will all sit in some awkward silence while we wait for someone to share. I hope those instructions were clear. I'm going to break us out into 3 groups. We will watch 3 different videos and share what we learned with each other. Okay, I will come in your group and I'll give you the YouTube link in the chat box. We will do this for 10 minutes. So it's 4:40 right now. We'll come back by 4:50. Okay, give me a thumbs up if you are as excited as I am. I am breaking us out. Just 10 seconds, we will go into 3 groups. Yay, everybody's so excited. Okay, I'm excited. I'm excited that all of you are excited. You will get a prompt soon. And you will be going to a breakout. You will get a prompt to join a breakout room. Please click on that. After you join the breakout room, I will come and give you the YouTube link that you will watch. Yes, somebody has, if there are any questions or if you need any clarification, please type that in also. Okay, that's fine. You don't have to know anything about breakout rooms. You will get a link where you can just click and it will make a breakout room on its own. The prompt should come to you in a minute.
पण मी कसं
Okay, I think we are still trying to figure out if we can do breakout rooms. Give me 1 second to figure that out. If we can't do breakout rooms, we will watch one video together.
How do you make different groups and show 3 different videos? How is that possible in Zoom?
So Zoom has an option that's called breakout rooms, where you can
Okay.
split participants into 3 groups. And if you are the host, you can go to each room. So that's something you can also do if you are teaching your students on Zoom right now.
Is it paid version or Zoom?
I
This one comes
am not sure actually,
okay.
but
Thank you.
no problem. I will get back to you on that. If you have gotten a prompt, it should say the host has invited you to join a breakout room, like a little window. Just click on join and you will be moved to a breakout room. Yes, I see most of the people are going. Incredible.
बोलते रहो। हेलो।
Hello all. We've actually pasted 3 links on the chat window. Please you copy those links, paste it on your browser, and watch the classroom videos. The rest of the participants are doing the same. Once that is done, we will be getting back together as a whole group.
everyone to join the main group again. I hope that watching the videos was as exciting as watching the student interviews were. You got a glimpse inside this classroom, and I can't wait for all of you to share with each other what you saw. Would love to start with somebody who watched the Harry Potter video. If you can share what are some of the things that you saw the teachers do in the class that you think was really helping the students learn. So if you were in the group that watched the Harry Potter English lesson, if you can unmute yourself and share with the group what you watched.
I think one of the most interesting things that I saw was the usage of the graphic organizer on the board. We're all aware of how many characters Harry Potter has and how it can get a little difficult for younger children to understand and have clarity over who is who. So I think that really helped them stay engaged with the story, which was very interesting to see.
Yeah, definitely. Thank you for sharing that, Devika. So what happens in this video is in this lesson is not only are the students reading a text, they're using a graphic organizer that's really helping them understand and engage with the story. And you can tell when you're watching that video that the students are so engaged with the story, they will gasp, they will laugh, they will be surprised. And for third grade students read the first Harry Potter book, you can see how the graphic organizer and some of the practices of the teacher were used. I think one thing that I also found incredible in the teacher practice was how animated she was. She was reading loudly. She made sure that the students were following what she was saying. So even if they didn't understand a few words, if you just saw your teacher act it out, it was so exciting to see. I think the second thing that really stood out to me in the lesson was how there was a love for reading that was being built. Now I can understand why the student in the first video was saying, I love reading. Because if you're reading Harry Potter in class like that, who wouldn't love to read, right? So that's one video. Yes, please.
Yeah, one more thing that I noted was that the teacher was not focusing on quietening the children and asking them to sit. She was allowing them to be their natural selves in expressing themselves. And she moved to all the children in all the corners to make it sure that all of them are paying attention. And she herself was too excited and too energetic in conducting the class, which is very important. So that way the children can also connect themselves with the teacher, and it was flowing very smoothly. There wasn't any inhibition in any of the children, because she also used bilingual, so that made it easier for them to understand. And they did not at all feel that it is a story which is set in some place which they haven't seen. So they felt that they themselves are a part of it. She enacted it in such a manner. I think this is very important for the teachers to connect with the children and make it come down to their level. That is the most important thing.
Yeah. Thank you for sharing that, Samina. I think what you shared is such a great example, because we saw students talk about how the classroom culture is so great and they feel so safe. And you can see that in the class, right? You don't see students scared about answering what if I am giving the wrong answer.
No.
They are excited to participate. So that's a great observation, sharing that. Somebody who watched the EVS lesson are blindfolding themselves. Do you want to share what were the teacher actions that you saw in that video?
Hello, I was from the group 2. Hello?
Hello, yes.
Hello, I watched the EVS video and I absolutely loved it. I loved the fact that the teacher gave them to write first, made them think about the challenges of the blind people. And after that, she made them feel the challenges. And then also she gave them the time to discuss and introspect on what they wrote and how they felt, the differences and the challenges. I really loved I really loved it because only when you understand the challenges, only when you live those challenges, can you identify them properly. And that is the initial phase where you can actually go about finding the solution. I loved this. I loved this strategy, and I loved how the whole class was engaging to her, and how she was asking everyone. And even if the student was not giving a correct answer or the desired answer, she was not brushing them off for it. I really loved that. It was very encouraging.
Thank you so much for sharing that. Yes, like you just heard, the lesson was so engaging. It was a very experiential learning. One thing that I also want to point out, that all three videos that we watched, the students are talking about problems and solutions, third graders. They're talking about evidence. They're talking about making choice. So the critical thinking of the students is so age appropriate. It's what problems third graders are discussing, but it's so amazing to see the kids and the students think so critically and ask these questions and think about problems and solutions and empathy. Again, these two videos are so incredible, and I promise you will want to go watch them after this webinar. I wish you could watch all of them together, but yes, somebody who was in the last group who saw the differentiated workshops, the differentiated literacy group, if somebody can share what you observed.
Hi, this is Devika. Somebody who shared about the second video, again, the teacher appreciates what the students were saying, and the teacher actions and saying that I noted. I mean, they always ask them to elaborate their answer so that they have a better understanding, because the more you share, you understand it more. And the teacher used to ask the student, as in, what do you understand by this? So that it's not that the teacher gives them the answer and they just learn it. They should know, they should think about it as well, and that's where critical thinking comes. They made them ponder over about the answers, and kept engaging students with various techniques like magic finger. And I mean, that magic finger really touched me, because it was so unique. It brought a smile on my face. So that was an amazing technique. And even with Viraj's class, when a student uh, prompted him about, let's first read the title of the uh, lesson, he appreciated that. Thank you for making me remind that. I mean, and that connect only comes once you build the rapport. So overall, the rapport was amazing between the teacher. And personally, I love the TIJ videos. I've been stalking them on YouTube since then. Thank you.
Thank you for sharing that, Devika. Yes, I think one thing that I'm hearing over and over again is the relationship the teachers have with the students, and that's definitely standing out. I know most of us, but a few of us specifically had the question of, one, how do I engage my students in the classroom? How do I make lessons more interactive and fun? And the second thing, second question that came up a lot was, how do I differentiate learning? My students have different needs. Some of them are still learning to read. Some of them are reading really well. How can I approach this? And I hope this has given you a glimpse of one of the techniques that we know have worked in our context. And yeah, I'm going to pause for a few moments. I promise after this call, I will share lesson plans of the 3 videos that we watched, also further videos for you to watch and explore. I'm just going to share my screen again for us to have a look at some of the practices that the teachers did that led to these amazing academic outcomes that we did see. The data that I showed at the beginning of the call of the rise in reading comprehension, how great, like how articulate the students were, right, when they were talking in their interview, and what has led to this. One is just consistent use of balanced literacy structures. So what I mean by balanced literacy here is, you will see that the teachers were focusing on all aspects of literacy, which was reading, writing, speaking, and listening. The teacher was reading a text aloud. The students were reading a text themselves. They were reading with their partners. So there was a lot of engagement in different ways with literacy that we are seeing has led to the great outcomes of this class. I will share lesson plans of this video with you, but I think more than a lesson plan, you need to see it happen. Lesson plan we can all make ourselves, right? So the video is, I think, where the real magic is. And I'm going to pause here again. I'm leaving the slide on in case you want to take any notes. Okay, before we move on, I just want to take another minute for us to summarize and consolidate some of the new information that we have. So I'd love for you to do answer the same question I asked earlier. Is there any one thing that you've learned new as you watched the video, and one thing that you always believed in that got affirmed? So share one thing that you've learned new and one thing that got affirmed in this through this activity. And I'm reading the chat box and then we'll move on. Thank you for sharing, Isha, learning by doing. Different learning styles. Self-learning, it's so incredible. In one of the videos, we see students just form groups and sit on their own and learn vocabulary, reading, writing on their own. Really great to see peer learning and independent learning coming alive in this classroom. Okay, self-reflection, great. Some great answers are coming in the chat box. Take a minute to read that as well. Again, I'm going to pause here. So we started about an hour and 15 minutes ago with the aim of feeling inspired by what is possible in our classrooms and in our work that we are doing. And we also wanted to feel confident by the end of this webinar that this is something that I can do. This is something that I have been doing. I just want to do it a little differently, or I want to try this new thing. Or maybe this is something that I just have to do more consistently and regularly with my students. But I hope you are feeling like a lot of these practices are some things that you have tried or have wanted to try. I'm going to pause here, and we have 15 minutes before the call ends. What I'd love to do now is a sort of a panel discussion. I have gone through the questions all of you sent beforehand the webinar. If you have some really specific questions, feel free to write them in the chat box as well. I'm going to invite two people on this call, Anshuli and Yogyata. They are both teachers in Delhi and Bangalore who have also worked with early intervention classrooms. And I'd love for them to address some of the questions that are coming up. Anshuli and Yogyata, if you're on the call. Yay! Hi, Anshuli.
Hi, hello.
Hi, Yogyata. Oh.
Hi.
Hi, hello. I studied both of their classrooms as a part of this year's TIJ study as well, where we identified outcomes and practices that were like bright spots in our ecosystem, and we studied their classrooms, and both of them were also teaching in classrooms that were early intervention. So I thought they would be the best people to shoot some questions at, and I think they'll be the best people to answer some of the questions that all of you sent in. If you have any other questions, feel free to chat in. I am reading the chat, and I will start by, why don't we just start by introducing, both of you want to introduce yourselves to everyone on the call.
Okay, so I'm Yogyata. I'm a 2018 fellow. I used to teach, I'm still teaching my kids through WhatsApp. So it was a first year intervention classroom. My kids were in grade 3, and now my kids are in grade 5. It's an all girls school.
Thank you so much.
Yeah, hi guys. Okay, so I taught grade 2 and grade 3 in Bangalore, where all my kids spoke Kannada and I did not know the language. So like Yogita, I'm also still continuing my assignments and feedbacks and everything with my kids through WhatsApp. So yeah, they're going to go into grade 4 now.
Okay, thank you for joining this call and for taking us through some of the questions that a lot of us have on our minds. I think the first question I'd love to get started with is, as a teacher, when I'm entering an early intervention classroom, what are some of the things that I need to do to be prepared? Or what are some challenges that I can anticipate and how can I prepare for that?
Yeah, can I go?
Yes, please.
Great. So I think first, yeah. Okay. Okay.
Question, please type it in. I'm reading the chat box. Go for it, Anjali. Thank you.
Yeah. So I think like a couple of challenges that were there for me in my classroom and which I saw across early intervention classrooms was one, the language barrier, and that I also mean in terms of like negative literacy levels. So when you enter the classroom, it's not going to be odd that you see that your kids are at a minus 0.5 level. They can't even do a level 0 RC paper. So that was definitely very shocking for me when I entered my classroom. Our average level was a negative RC average. And I think the lack of culture. So what I mean by that is before you, your kids have not had a TFI teacher before this. And so they have no idea about procedures and structures that, you know, are supposed to be followed in a classroom that makes lessons more efficient. They don't even know what a lesson looks like. So I think focusing on like culture and focusing on building literacy is something as starting steps that I would do as a teacher in early intervention classroom.
Yeah, also when she said the kids were at minus, so this means that kids are not able to answer the questions like factually. So for example, if there is a picture of a bottle and if you ask, okay, what is the color of the bottle, the kids will not be able to comprehend this simple language. And similar to what Anshuli said, there is also a lack of or a challenge of parents. Because the way we teach and the way other teachers teach, I mean the government teachers, like finishing the syllabus and making sure that that the notebooks are filled, checked on time, everything, not thinking about whether they are understanding or not. So how at this point of time you are going to convince parents that maybe their notebooks will not be itna bhari hui nahi hongi, but our kids are still learning. So, and how to tell them that, you know, we are creating a vision for your kids and let's do that together. So yeah.
So Anshuli and Yogita, what you shared right now is what we also saw in another classroom that all of us explored together. We all spent an hour exploring NIDA's classroom and we saw some of the same things that you're saying, like focus on culture, a strong focus on literacy and investing parents and investing stakeholders. Right? Can you share with us one practice that worked for you in all of these spheres? So what helped you build literacy? What helped you improve your classroom culture when you had to start from the beginning, right? And how did you go about investing your parents? If you can share some things with all of us that worked for you.
So when I entered my classroom, the classroom culture was not there. Kids used to run, used to hit, they used to do small things. So so what I did was we created a culture where I used to, like, I told them, okay, these are the values and how we are going to practice it. So just not saying them, okay, we are going to say honesty is the value. Basically telling them what honesty looks like in an action. So if you are doing this, then okay, this means that you are practicing honesty. And for that, I used economy system, which ultimately is helping my kids in maths, in literacy, because there was a notebook in which my kids used to write at the end of the day, okay, these are the, like, I got this much rupee because of this action. And on Saturday we used to have Saturday bazaar, where my kids can buy things from me. from the notes that I used to give them. So, and then they will go back to their notebook. They will write, okay, so we had 500 rupees, we bought this, now this amount is left with us. So it is basically practicing math through the culture, through the culture. If I talk about investment of my parents, I did learning circles with my parents. So learning circles is basically creating a space with my parents, talking to them about, like, asking them what do they want from me for their kids, rather than just me telling them, okay, I had this vision for your kids, and then both of us creating that vision together. Okay, so we are going to do this, and उस vision को accomplish करने के लिए और पूरा करने के लिए together we are going to do this. So one would be that I celebrated festivals with my kids, with my parents, just making sure that they are a part, like I am their part, matlab just making them feel important ki if they are not there, then nothing is going to happen for their kids. So yeah, so these were like, this was a first example. I mean, one of the
again, this is something that we also saw Naida share in her reflection about investing the parents in the vision that you have for your students. We also heard about the students share that, you know, when my parents come to the PTM, my teacher doesn't complain. She always tells my parents what they're doing, what I'm doing well, and how they can support me. So thanks for that reflection. Anjali, do you want to share any specific strategies or structures?
Yeah. So actually, for literacy, I think Hafsa already spoke about the balanced literacy approach. So like we talk about speaking and listening, grammar, reading fluency, and reading comprehension as like 4 different components of English when we teach English. So what I really focused on was phonetic awareness. So phonics, just like what are the sounds of letters and how do you do blending and segmenting of letters to read words. And I think that really also added to my kids becoming more engaged, because now kids didn't have to be like, Didi, can you read this word for me? They would just like be like, okay, so it's CAT, sukka, actor, cat. So they would be able to blend and segment words because of phonics. So I really focused on phonics initially. And I think as they became better, I moved on to a little more rigorous content. So my reading comprehension classes were very differentiated. So at the end of the classroom, whatever practice worksheets my students would do, based on what is the level of the student, I would give them like a slightly higher challenging assignment. So someone like a Bhargavi who is, you know, very fluent at reading and her critical thinking skills are also at like her grade level, I would give her a different, more challenging worksheet, whereas someone like Tarun who needs a little more support in reading would get a different worksheet. So I think that's what we call differentiation. That's something that I did in the classroom. In terms of parental investment, that actually wasn't my strong suit, investing stakeholders and parents. But I made progress very visible. So even in the classroom, I would put up charts of, okay, this is where the child had started. Now look at the graph, look at where the child is now. And the parents, when they would come for PTM, they would just have to look at the walls and they'd understand, okay, so the child is making some progress. Now for me, language was also a barrier because I didn't know Kannada. So speaking to my parents was also very difficult. Even after having a translator, like a sense of what I'm trying to say wouldn't get through. So I think just having those trackers in class, showing them their English, math, how much their kids are improving really helped to sort of build a faith in the parents and get them more invested in what I'm doing for them.
Yeah, just adding on to one point. So basically what we, both of us and many of us do is creating a culture where kids love, I mean, developing love for reading culture, because so as Anjali mentioned that phonetics say we told the kids, you know, like this is the way you read a word, and then they start reading it. So we are just creating love for reading culture so that they are not dependent on us.
Okay, incredible. This is something that we saw again in the classroom that we studied today, students talking about how they love reading and how they're excited to come to school. And we can see how that's impacting how they're learning in the classroom. One last question that I have for both of you, and I think this is a question that a lot of people have on their mind when they enter early intervention classrooms, is how do you manage behavior? How do you address difficult behavior and make sure that everyone in the classroom was conducive and exciting for students to learn?
Yeah, so I think something that I think a lot of teachers at TFI do, but I'm not sure if other teachers also do this, is called like a behavior management cycle, where you follow like, it's like a systematic 4-step thing that you will do initially, where you'll call their attention with something fun, then you'll give them instructions, then you'll say, shabash beta, good, you're following my instruction. And then you'll be like, for the kids who aren't following your instruction, you might call them out and be like, I mean, is there any reason that you're not listening, so on and so forth. Now, obviously that may not make sense for some kids who are just like known for just being so mischievous in your class, like they just won't listen to you no matter what you do. And so for them, you usually would design like a very specific reward and punishment system, which makes sense to your kids. So I think for me, at least, I had spent the initial 3 months just changing my reward and punishment system again and again, based on what my kids like and what they actually don't care about. So, and the system that I had used to go from like, if you have 10 stars, then you'll get like a public clap from everyone and a shout out. If you get 20 stars, you'll get a keychain from Didi. If you get 30 stars, then you can change your seat and you can sit with your friends. So just like that system was something that I used to keep following. And to be able to know who has got how many stars, I would have like this big tracker in the classroom. And I would keep like canceling and giving them stars based on how they are behaving. And for every single time a child would do the behavior that I want them to show, I would be like, amazing, thank you so much. And I'd just be like giving them stars and giving them firecracker claps. And for the kids who were not showing those behaviors, I'd just be like, I'm sorry, I'm gonna have to cancel the star because, you know, you're not following the rule that we've set in the class. So just being very specific about what are the actions you want your students to show, and being very consistent in how much you are rewarding them and how much you are like giving them negative consequences for it. I think like once you start doing that consistently and the culture is in place, everything else just starts falling into place. Like your engagement also just increases in the classroom.
Yeah. Just adding on to Anshuli's point, like +1 to everything. Just one thing that I think one-on-one conversations helps a lot. So one-on-one conversations to your child. So for example, if the child is not behaving still in the classroom, then having that conversation with them. Also, I think sharing of like small little things. For example, I share my lunch with my kids. They share their lunch with my kids. That increases and that creates a bond where, I mean, I can say at the end of my fellowship that my kids are like my family, like they are my family. It's just the small things that creates a big impact.
Thank you, Anshuli and Yogyata, for adding so much depth to our webinar. I hope they addressed some of the very specific questions that our participants had. If you do have any further questions that you feel like you need more clarity, or please feel free to reach out to me via email and I will connect you to these teachers. Before we leave, can we all please, I know the webinar, you have 3 minutes left, but if you can please type in a 3-to-1 response so that I can understand how much you have learned or experienced or enjoyed this webinar. Type in 3 things that you definitely want to try in your work, 2 questions that you have right now, and 1 thing that has inspired you over this call. I'm reading all of your responses. Thank you very much. And I hope I see you all again in more webinars that we will keep doing. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Hafsa, for doing this. We would all like to thank Hafsa for being her time and expertise today. Can you please also quickly share your thoughts on the webinar?
Me?
Yeah.
Oh, me? Oh, actually. Oh, I had a great time. I was a little nervous at the beginning because there were so many people, but I think it was incredible. I had such a great time reading through all of the responses and sharing all of my favorite classrooms with such a wide audience. And I hope I get to do more of these. Thank you.
Absolutely. For the rest of our participants, our next webinar is scheduled to take place on April 24th, which is tomorrow, with the British Council on Technology for Teachers. So do look for Firki emails in your inbox for information on this upcoming webinar. In your chat box, we've shared feedback form link. You will have to copy and paste this in a new window for you to give us feedback. It helps us improve and get better each webinar as we receive more and more feedback. So please do take 2 minutes to give us this feedback. Thank you and have a great evening.